Hello, Bezel T3. I'm in my backyard this evening. This is my intro to, well, it's going to go old school on you this week. I was working on a video but just ran out of time. It's going to be another father-son duo, which I think you're going to get a lot out of, but I just don't have time to put it together. It's already Thursday right now. So it was a busy week. My mom, we just put her into an assisted living. The flight schedule on the airplane I take care of increased dramatically over the last week. We had to work on the airplane quite a bit. So anyways, all that to say, I don't have time to put together a video I'm going to be happy with. So what I'm going to do is, what dawned on me is I have an old channel that's still on YouTube, and I called it Biblestraightup. And what it is kind of the big picture story of redemption, from creation to consummation, hopefully. And I think it's 17 videos. I think in the intro you'll see 4 I think I said a dozen or so, but I think it's 17. But anyways, I thought you might want to see it. Now, it's old school, it's standard definition, it looks terrible, but the content I think is decent. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I'll give you the intro and then the first one that I did. And then I'll give you the link to the channel, and if you want to use it for yourself or for a friend that wants to know Christianity in a nutshell, very easy listening, you could share it with anybody you want. So I'm going to offer this up, and it'll give me an extra week to put the video I'm working on right now together. So I hope you enjoy what I present. It was done about 9 years ago. So thanks so much, and we'll talk soon. Hello, Bezel 333 here. Hey, I wanted to let you know that I have created a new channel, an additional channel, and it's called Biblestraightup. And what I wanted to do is kind of compress the big chunks of what the Bible actually teaches. The entire story from Genesis to Revelation, also including the major themes and the important elements of Christianity in hopefully under a dozen videos or so. I wrote something that comprises what I'm talking about. It's about 50 pages, so I'm going to basically use that as my material. So for those of you who either are unbelievers but interested in Christianity, or maybe an atheist who just wants to know what the Bible teaches without bothering to read the whole darn thing, this channel will be for you. So either if you found me through Bezel 333, which is now BZEL 333, or you just happen to stumble upon Biblestraightup, I hope that you'll take a look at the videos, and I hope they'll be helpful for you to understand what the Bible actually teaches. If you were to ask most Christians what the most important aspect of their faith is, the answer would probably be salvation. The word saved is often used to describe a time when a person became a Christian. But the obvious question from a person not familiar with the Christian faith would be, salvation from what? Now, the word saved is not hard to understand. Something can be saved for a future purpose, like saving money for retirement, or someone can be saved from a dangerous situation, like a burning building. But in the Christian sense, being saved has to do with being rescued from an absolutely desperate situation. What makes this particular situation so dreadfully dangerous is that it is unseen. It is a danger that is not easily recognizable until it is too late. As post-World War II, 21st century Americans, we are culturally and religiously pluralistic. We pride ourselves in our freedom and ability to choose what we want. We can choose the lifestyle that we want and what kind of environment we will live in. We are a self-centered culture, and as individuals, very focused on what we can personally achieve, attain, and accumulate. There is a trend towards spirituality today, but it tends to focus on finding some higher power or the spirit within that can help us meet these needs for self-fulfillment. In other words, getting what we want. In today's America, there is little, if any, interest in or awareness left of our true position as creatures created by God, and the awareness that as His creatures we are totally dependent and accountable to Him. What has become even more foreign in our cultural understanding is the idea that in a very specific way, God has a huge problem with the people that he has created. The word for this problem is sin. Now, what follows in these videos is an attempt to explain the reality of human sinfulness and the fact that it is your problem, as well as mine. We will look at the depth of this problem of sinfulness, the consequences of this problem, and most importantly, God's great remedy for this problem. It's an older movie called As Good as It Gets, and in it, Melvin, who is played by Jack Nicholson, is a bigoted, mean-spirited, and psychologically troubled man. Through a growing relationship with Carol, a gentle and compassionate waitress played by Helen Hunt, he is little by little transformed into a kinder, more caring, and sensitive individual. It's the kind of movie that contends that we are all good people down deep. You just have to dig a little deeper in some people than others to find the goodness. But this raises a question. Can this way of thinking about human nature be true if there really is such a thing as human sinfulness? In other words, is our nature as human beings at its most basic level good if you only look deep enough into the heart of a person? Most people, not really understanding sin, might think that this is so. However, the picture the Bible paints is much different. It presents the idea that we have a huge moral problem that affects our relationship with God. The seriousness of this problem lies in the fact that God, because of his blindingly bright and morally perfect character, cannot merely wink his eye at sin and let bygones be bygones. Now, the Bible has the audacity to teach that each one of us after death is going to have to give an account of our lives before the God who made us. Perhaps this is something that you don't buy into, and perhaps you don't think much about. But one fact is certain. You are going to die sooner or later, and the Bible says that after death, judgment will follow. Now, I agree, the Bible has much to say that's unsettling. But at the same time, the Bible is so compelling. It's a unique book that has much to say about where we came from and what happens to us after we die. The Bible is not just another book written by mere men. On the contrary, the Bible claims that the authority and truthfulness behind its words comes from God himself. Now, you may not believe that the Bible is God's very words written down on paper through the agency of inspired human writers. And this is understandable. All I ask is that you ride on one very basic and, for the meantime, generous assumption. And that is that the Bible's true in what it says, until you are absolutely convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not true. Now, it's not my intent to empirically prove the God-given authority of the Bible. Rather, I want to show you that the Bible will do one of two things to every person who reads it. It's a doctor's task to examine a patient during an exam to see if there are any problems that need attention. Many people with cancer have no idea that they have it until a physician examines them. Only then are they interested in a cure. The Bible will do both of these things for your soul. It will give you a straight and honest assessment of your spiritual condition, and will also give you the treatment to make you well. And who should know better about the things of human life and death and what comes next than the God who created us? It is God himself who offers this thing called salvation through the pages of this most amazing book. Salvation in the true Christian sense means being saved from the penalty of sin, which is our greatest need as human beings, whether we feel it or not. Sin is a reality, and it is something we must deal with. We must understand what it is and where it comes from, and just how deeply it affects everyone. If the two edges of the Bible, like a sword, are salvation and condemnation, then everyone who reads it will receive one or the other. Understand that no one who reads the Bible walks away with nothing. As God has said in the Bible, I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that you and your descendants may live. There's something wrong with human nature, nature. Well, so goes the lyrics of a rock song played in the early 1990s. This is quite obvious to see, isn't it, as one looks at the evening news or reads the morning paper? Wars, random killings, child abuse, scandals, corruption in government, the list could go on and on. Sin is a reality, and we must acknowledge this fact. The Bible tells us plainly, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And this means everybody. But what does it mean to be a sinner? Is it simply the bad things that people do, and if they stopped doing them, they would no longer be sinners? Or is it a deeper problem than that? Now, to get at this answer, we need to begin by understanding God's original creation of mankind. An important thing to get is that God did not create man as sinner. This is where we need to start if we are to understand the true problem of sin. Most people will recognize the first words of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, what does this mean? Well, it means that before anything else existed, God always was. There has never been a time when God was not. Everything else in the cosmos has a beginning. All the planets and the stars and the vast reaches of deep space, all these have a beginning. But God always was, or is, I should say. The next thing we are told by this first statement in the Bible is that this God, who has always existed, also created and brought about all there is in the heavens and the earth. God is the creator who brought all things into existence. Now, as we read the creation account in Genesis, we see a progression of how the universe was brought into being. First, God created the vastness of space that separates solar systems and galaxies. He then fashioned a particular planet in a particular place, which we know as Earth. God then created light. Think about that. Apart from God, there is no light. God then created the atmosphere that separates the waters on the earth from the water vapors in the clouds. Then comes a very important statement in the Genesis account, that God saw what he had made and called it good. God liked very much what he had made. After separating the dry land from the seas, God then created plants and vegetation of all kinds. He then created the two great lights, the sun and the moon, one for day and one for night, and the stars that exist in space. Then God created the fish in the sea and the animals on the land and the birds that fly over the land. God saw all that he had made and declared that it was good and pleasing to him, but he was not finished with his work. The Bible goes on to say that God created something very different from all the other things that he had made, something to reflect his own image and character, something that could represent him and his goodness and authority over all creation, and that something was mankind. In the Bible it says, "Let us," this is God saying, "let us make man in our image and in our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over the cattle, over the earth and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them.